Welcome to Access and Privacy Online Commentary. BC Information and Privacy Commissioner Michael Harvey returned to Access and Privacy Online to speak with FIPA President Mike Larsen, Executive Director Jason Woywada, and me, Patrick Farnsworth. Here is a brief segment of our interview. Enjoy.
I was really interested in the joint statement that your office released with your partners across Canada, Trust, Transparency, and Democracy in an Era of Misinformation. And you've been speaking to that. There's a lot of statements that have been issued by different offices throughout the years that tie transparency to democracy, right? The Supreme Court's recognized this as well, that our transparency laws facilitate democracy. But really, this is, to my mind, this is one of the first times we've seen such an emphasis on, the context of the moment, that we're in an era of misinformation. And so the urgency of this kind of reform is really highlighted. Could you perhaps unpack for us a bit, what steps should we take, must we take to improve our transparency laws so as to address the perils of misinformation?
Yeah. So here, around our table, we talked about misinformation, we talked about disinformation, we talked about malinformation, and the different ways and the different reasons why we're seeing the spread of information that, for one reason or another, may not be accurate, and what effect that is going to have on people. And really, there's a number of trends that are going on with respect to, domestic and international bad actors, but also a spread of technology that is making there's a terrible irony here, where the technology, as it moves forward into making false things seem more and more accurate, the irony is it makes accurate things seem less and less, seem more and more inaccurate. And the more inaccurate things come close to looking accurate, the more everything comes close to looking inaccurate. And we end up kind of living in an uncanny valley.
Sure.
And if we're living in the uncanny valley, then people just will essentially become fatigued with it and come to just give up and just not really believe anything they see. And this is the kind of the dystopian concern that we're concerned about. I mean, that's really where we're coming from, a kind of a fatigue with the notion of that there is an objective truth. So your question, what can we do? I mean, there's three layers that commissioners have talked about over the last number of years about what we can do. Really, as a last resort, is a well-resourced freedom of information system. And I say a last resort, and I don't mean to kind of diminish its importance, but really the freedom of information system should be about the residual information that you don't have ready access to. There should be a route for you to try to get ready access to it, unless it is inappropriate for you to have access to it. Whether it's inappropriate for you as an individual to have access to it because it's someone else's private information, or it's inappropriate for you to have access to it because that would undermine the ability of a government or a public body to actually do its job. But other than that, you should be able to get access to it. That's a default, but that should be residual information, right? I mean, the starting point should be, if we lived in a culture of transparency, the starting point should be that most information that a citizen would need should be readily accessible, just without having to put in some kind of special request for it. Right? It should be, and this is a second level of our concern, is proactively disclosed. The public bodies, government and crown corporations and so on, should understand what citizens are likely to want to see and should disclose that proactively. without having to be asked for it. So the bulk of information that people are interested in seeing should be proactively concerned. And then we get to the top level, really. Really what should be the starting point here is what we released a resolution on a couple of years ago now, and this is called transparency by default, where even in the design of programs and policies at their inception, that government should think about how will we design our policies and programs to be transparent, and that requires public bodies and governments to make sure that they conceive of themselves as public. So I've been talking about this during really my whole term here in British Columbia, that we need to put the public back in public bodies. We need to make sure that the culture is one in which the public bodies understand that their raison d'etre is to serve the public. And when we say serve the public, I don't just mean to serve them by providing excellent roads and healthcare and education, although I certainly do mean that, but to serve the public by serving it to them publicly, by which I mean transparently. I mean in a way that they're able to see and hold to account. And so this is, to get to what you just said, this is the cultural shift that we really need to get to. We need to make sure that core government is setting the example for all public bodies to conceive of themselves as public service, not just in providing services to the public, but in publicly providing services to the public. That's how we can build trust.
So just to unpack that a little bit more, how do we reconcile that, though, when we see them exercising discretion less and we see them under increasing pressure, in addition to that, to act more like a business, which is inherently not transparent? In PPP partnerships, more applications of third-party exceptions because of business interests of a third party, and those processes lacking the transparency that we would expect when a public body starts adopting business processes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that this isn't easy to do, Jason. I mean, this is hard work, and thinking through this is going to be hard work. But I think that public bodies and government need to understand that the consequences of not doing it, and not doing it as maximally as they can. So certainly there will be needs for protecting the trade secrets and the proprietary information of third-party businesses with which the government does business. But clear procurement laws and clear guidances and the strict application of those may make sure that while secret sauces may be held, the truly proprietary commercial secrets can be held private, then people do have access, though, to things like pricing lists and the things that taxpayers will need to make sure that they are getting the best value in public-private schemes and government procurement from the third sector. So really, it's just focused and precise decision making that is required.
Access and Privacy Online reviews the headlines and delivers deeper commentary on a regular basis. Be sure to subscribe to get the full episodes every week and get notifications when we release show segments and other commentary throughout the week. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a good one.